Hello guys, Termex here, and welcome back to another Wonderlands build video. Now today's video, I do want to showcase my subjectively best Spore Warden build in the game. Now I know the word best is a very subjective word, but I only say this because it's not the best at one particular thing, but it is actually basically great for everything. When it comes to general mobbing, single target bossing, or even cooperative play to help boost your teammates' damage, this build really has it all. And on top of that, you really don't need any specific items other than a few things, so you can really use whatever you think is fun or interactable with any other thing that you want to do within this build. So when I did start off my character, I did pick Raised by Elves so I can get the bonus dexterity. One thing I've noticed, even though I am leveling up my strength and my dexterity, my hero points are not updating. Even though my myth rank has basically all of it upgraded, it's not boosting to the 40s like I would like it to, which is very confusing. I'm pretty sure this is a bug within the game that I do hope they fix soon. But since I see a lot of people that don't actually show this off, these are my myth ranks, and the myth ranks you should be targeting towards are going to be your frost damage when it comes to the Archmage tree. Now Blade Master doesn't really matter, but I do like Constitution for a little bit more survivability. In terms of Deadeye, you really want magazine size, fire rate, and reload speed. The move speed and the gun handling are whatever, and of course gun damage is going to benefit everything in the game. And then finally, for the Druid side, I do like to do loot luck because loot luck in this game will carry you in basically everything. But after that, I would either go with lightning damage or poison damage, as they're both very good forms of DPS within this game. And another reminder, you cannot respec your myth rank, so wherever you put these points is permanent, but the myth ranks are unlimited. Now as for the skill trees, we are maining the Spore Warden with a BurrZerker secondary. I know, before you click off of this video and say it's like every other video, I roll this build a little bit differently. I do not use the freaking pistol liquid cooling that everyone else is using. Just personally, I don't like having fun doing what everyone else is doing. Every single build is just use whatever character, pop on a liquid cooling, and infinitely shoot it until you kill a boss, right? But I wanted to stray away from this with this build. I wanted a build that works, that's functional, but it's not the same old thing over and over. Now I'm going to quickly go through these things for the Spore Warden tree. Some keen things are going to be Eagle Eye for the 20% gun damage. Bullseye will give us a 50% critical hit chance. And now Affinity does benefit from Play the Angles. I do want to talk about this a little bit. As you can see, it does reduced ability damage, but it's based on your gun critical hit damage dealt. Yes, this ability will boost Play the Angles, but it's not going to be the actual 35% damage. If anything, putting max points into Affinity might boost Play the Angles by around 15%, if even that. I did want to point that out, but this is just more mainly for our barrage, to actually have the barrage keep up with things and actually do a pretty significant amount of damage. It's not going to be melting bosses or anything, but it will be doing something. But you also have to remember, barrage takes benefits from gun damage as well, so either or benefit will be boosting it significantly. Of course, we have our 1-point skills, which is Spore Cloud and our Revive Mushroom. Must have skills if you're playing Spore Warden, in my opinion, because you're going to have de-aggro and you're going to have a guaranteed second life as long as your guy is alive. And when you're doing solo chaos runs for extended periods of time, or even doing raid bosses and cannot get a second wind, especially for me since I am a solo player, this guy is just amazing. It's just like Flak from Borderlands 3. He will save your runs. If you pop on this skill, you will not be disappointed because he will save every little chance. You think you're screwed? You think you messed something up? Did you die to water? Did you die to a barrel? This guy will be here to save you. And of course, Quiver of Holding, very overlooked skill in Spore Warden. This gives us a whopping 30% magazine size to whatever gun we use, and we get a little bit of ammo regeneration on the side. I did put 1 point into Windrunner just to get further down into the tree. We do get bonus fire rate and movement speed every time we get a kill, and it stacks up to 2 times. And now we have Headhunter, which is actually bonus gun damage dealt to critical hit areas. This gun damage of 25% isn't actually gun damage. This is universal damage. So look at this skill as 25% better all damage types, because I don't know if it's intended, but for some reason it boosts everything in the game. And then finally, Wrath of Nature. If you do not know, Wrath of Nature is an ability where when you hit a target with a ability damage proc, and we will always get that 108% bonus damage on a target. Now, the reason I say this is such a broken thing, when you have 3 charges of your bow and you could just put raw 108% more damage onto an enemy, that is insane. Plus that counts if your bow ricochets with Play the Angles. That's also going to make the ricochet target's enemy gain that Wrath of Nature debuff. And this debuff is actually universal to your entire team. So if you guys are killing a raid boss, if you guys are doing chaos chambers and you shoot a target with your bow, every single person on your team will get a 108% bonus damage buff on that specific target. And the fact that we could just ricochet that is insane. And of course we have Play the Angles. I think think if you're playing Spore Warden and you do not have this capstone, there is a issue, because this is the best thing Spore Warden has to offer in my opinion. This will make any gun a great ad control weapon and makes ad control weapons even stronger. Now, in terms of the BurrZerker Tree, we do have the Ancestral Frost, which just gives us 20% bonus frost damage. Since, as you've probably seen, we are using frost damage within this build for most of our kit, but we do have the occasional non-elemental weapons making some appearances. We also have Instinct, which is a 12% reload boost and a 30% weapon swap speed boost, but now when we enrage ourselves, we will get 24% bonus reload speed and 60% weapon swap speed. Now, I will explain the whole enraged effect after I talk about the rest of the skill tree. Up next, we have the old ways. The closer we are to an enemy, the more damage reduction we gain and the more damage that we get. Icebreaker, which is great. We actually get bonus damage against enemies that are slowed, and when they are fully frozen, we get 30% bonus damage. And then finally, we have Cold Snap, so we get more movement speed and frost efficiency, and when we are enraged, this effect is doubled, meaning we get 18% movement speed and a whopping 48 frost efficiency. But Term, what the heck is the enrage effect? Well, the passive on the Berserkers, every time we activate our action skill, we become enraged, and when we are enraged, we deal bonus frost damage for 15 seconds, and this is pretty freaking cool. All this really means is when we become enraged, we're giving all of our weapons a 10% bonus frost damage, we're getting bonus reload speed, weapon swap speed, movement speed, frost efficiency, and many other benefits that will help this build do even more damage. And that allows our bow itself to actually get frost damage as well, so it's easier to freeze targets with the ricocheting frost projectiles. Now, as for class powers, I will put Spore Warden on top here because we are still using Barrage and Play at the Angles. Now, I will say BurrZerker does have its benefits because it does have blast shield damage and the enraged bonus frost damage, so we're actually doing 15% at the moment. For me, at least, when it comes to the Spore Warden and Play the Angles, I personally like my bow and Play the Angles to do some damage, but if you want more BurrZerker power, that is completely up to you if you just want to focus on a strictly cryo build. But I don't want to lock this build to only cryo damage because there is enemies in this game that resist it completely, and I want this build to be as versatile as possible. Now, I'm going to cover the gear first because I actually want to talk about the guns separately. The first gear we do have is a gun damage ring, which gives us action skill duration, which is whatever, and then a spell critical hit damage, and when we deal damage to a boss, that 17% gun damage actually doubles, so we are actually doing a whopping 34% gun damage, which is actually pretty dang good considering it's a single ring. And then our other ring is a 19% gun damage, and when the ward is not full, this effect doubles, so we're not getting 19%. We're getting around 40% extra gun damage as long as our shield is not full. Between the two rings, that is a lot of gun damage. Now, as for the shield, we do have our body rune, which I think is just a must because every time we kill somebody, we instantly get 15% of our health back, and we deal 20% bonus fire damage for a short time. This means when we get a kill, whatever gun we use, ability we use, or companion we have, this will boost that and make it do fire damage, which I think is incredible. We're going to have our fire damage and our frost damage just from playing the game. And with my enchant, on action skill start, we deal 40% more gun damage for 10 seconds. Now, as for the class mod, we do have Spore Warden BurrZerker. +3 on Wrath of Nature is what you are looking for, so we can get that 108% debuff. As for my rolls, I got maximum ward capacity, 25% gun damage, and 20% movement speed. You will notice with this build, you are very fast, because I am a man that loves movement speed in these type of games, because I believe movement speed is the key way to survivability. Without movement speed, you can't really dodge things, and I do truly believe the lack of survivability with this build is counteracted with the amount of movement speed that we are able to keep up and maintain. And of course, we have a bunch of Buffmeisters. They are chaotic, and if you do not know, popping a Buffmeister makes whatever element the Buffmeister is apply to your gun based on the number of damage on the card. So when I pop this Buffmeister, everything I do in the game will have a 168 bonus corrosive damage and give whatever I'm using that element. I have it in almost every element, including Dark Magic, Frost, I actually have 2 cryos, and a Fire one. Pop on whichever one you need, depending on the content you want to do. And on these ones, I do have on Spellcast, increased damage dealt by 15% for 10 seconds, or we have the action skill starts, increased gun damage by 40%. But I will say, it's not always good because you cannot have double enchants. So since my body rune has the on action skill start 40%, if I put this on, it wouldn't stack. So you want to mix and match what you have so you're not forcing yourself to waste damage. And then finally, my amulets, which is a very, very nice amulet with fire damage and Spore Warden power. Since we are constantly going to have fire damage when it comes to the body rune, let's make that damage a little bit better. And of course, we have 11% all damage dealt. And then on top of that, we have 17% gun reload speed. Honestly, really nice amulet, really blessed that I got this to drop, and I love it. And now we have 2 different melee weapons here. If you look at the one on the left is the Goblin Pickaxe. We all know it, we all love it. I mainly only use this for a stat stick because on our spellcast, we gain 30% bonus damage for 10 seconds. But as for what I was using in the trailer, I was actually using a peg leg. Now this allows you when you melee an enemy to gain bonus 30% movement speed and 40% reload speed for 10 seconds. That's how I was able to reload my Torque shotgun so quickly, and this is what you're going to be using for speed kills, because on top of that we have Amped. Amped will allow us to have our next 3 gunshots boosted by 50% damage for 10 seconds. Very great for boss melting, very great for DPS. That is your burst killer when it comes to bosses. As for everything else in the game, you're going to be running the Goblin Pickaxe, because this has a better anoint for better damage. I have a pretty shit anoint on the peg leg, but this will allow you to get your movement speed, your action skill cooldown rate faster. In general, a lot of great things that the Goblin Pickaxe provides, but when it comes to speed kills, you're going to want to pop on that peg leg. Now, as for our weapons, we do have the Rogue Imp, which is a great fire weapon, basically makes everything die, and I could show you guys here, when you shoot it, it does have a rather quick cool off, but then you shoot these little homing fire racks, which is nice. And my favorite thing about this weapon is if you boost our reload speed like we already are, you could just spam racks everywhere. But with this SMG, we are actually getting a bonus 30% frost damage every time we activate our spell, which is basically all the time. And this is a 105 times 4 volatile SMG. It's pretty insane. It's basically the Sandhawk. It shoots like this, and it does a crap ton of damage. This is going to be your main squeeze for this build when it comes to ad control and mini bosses, and probably one of my favorite guns in the game. And then right here we have your boss melter. Now, to get this, I just spent probably 80,000 crystals on the freaking statues when it comes to the chaos chambers, and eventually I got a times 18. And all the boss kills in the intro, it's not even chaotic. It didn't even have an anoint at the time. It's not volatile. This has so much potential as a weapon within this game. It is just so dang hard to obtain. So I want to point that out, that this gun is pretty freaking badass, and it's going to be used for all your boss melting things. Think Flak from Borderlands 3 when it comes to spamming your projectiles in sticky mode exclusively. You're just going to do this and then reload. And then last we have the Carver, which is just a great ad control, toss it and spam type of thing. I throw it in if you need heals or any of that kind of stuff, but this slot is subjective to whatever you personally like. But now let me talk about the reload buffs and all of that kind of fun stuff, because as you see here, our reload is pretty slow. But we can actually make this faster by popping on our peg leg. So when we hit a melee attack, we get that bonus amp shot and reload speed and movement speed. So as you can see, we are reloading a lot faster than before, but it could honestly still go faster. Now, to make this go even faster, we are going to proc our Enrage skill, which is in the BurrZerker Tree over yonder, over here, which is Instinct. When we're enraged, we get a bonus 12% reload speed. So what we're going to do is pop that, pop our Enrage, and then we have our insane reload speed that you've seen before, and this will melt 99% of things in the game. It's a matter of if you're close enough, if you're getting your damage off, if you're hitting the crit spot. So I just want to point that out, but this is a very, very nice weapon. But let me explain the rage mechanic while I'm here. Now, as you guys seen before, when we get a kill and all that kind of stuff, we get bonus damage. Now, to explain Enrage really quick, I'm going to use a dark magic weapon, and as you can see, I'm only doing dark magic. But when we enrage ourselves by shooting our bow, which is our action skill, we will start doing cryo damage to everything we do. We could swap weapons, start shooting over here. We're still doing cryo damage no matter what we do until the enrage effect is up. Now, if you want to know when the enrage effect is over, as you see by the sides of my screen that are red, when that goes away, no more rage effect. Just pop another bow, and then it's already back up for you to start doing your DPS once again. Now, in general, there is a lot of things you could swap out, but like I said, it's a very versatile build, and that's why, in my opinion, I believe it's one of the best out there, because you're not secluded to using the same 2 or 3 guns, and you don't even really need to use the Buffmeister, but the game is in a weird state to where the Buffmeister is just one of the best things in the game if you're looking for a gun damage build, and gun damage builds is what I am looking for. I did my best and did all my research I can to make sure this build doesn't have any bugs, glitches, or exploits, so you guys can actually have a smooth experience if they ever decide to fix any of the said bugs or exploits in the future, and the build isn't hindered completely useless. But anyway, guys, I really do appreciate you guys watching today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you guys leave a like on it, as it helps me out a lot. It spreads my content more out to the Wonderlands and Borderlands community. And if you're on PC looking to download this build for yourself, you could use my save file, which is in the description below. I'll also have it posted in my Discord if you're already in my Discord. But anyway, you guys have a terrific day, and I'll see you guys later.